To order. We are meeting in public. Welcome to meeting number 104 of the House of Commons Standing Committee on Citizenship and Immigration, pursuant to Standing Order 1082 and the motion adopted by the committee on February the 12th and May the 1st, 2024. The committee is resuming its study of pension transferability and access to mandatory provident fund and delays in permanent residence and visas for Hong Kongers. Before I begin, I have to do my usual holy book. Before we begin, I would like to ask all members and others in-person participants to consult the cards on their table for the guidelines to prevent audio feedback incidents. Please take note of the following preventive measures in place to protect the health and safety of all participants, including the interpreters. Only use a black approved earpiece. Keep your earpiece away from all microphones at all times. When you are not using your earpiece, please place it face down on the sticker placed on the table for this purpose. And I want to thank you for your cooperation. Today's meeting is taking place in a hybrid format. We have the resources till 7 p.m. and the hard stop will be at 7 p.m. I would like to make a few more comments for the benefit of the members and the witnesses. Please wait until I recognize you by the name before speaking. For the members in the room, please raise your hand if you wish to speak. For members on Zoom, please use the raise hand function. The clerk and I will manage the speaking order as best we can, and we appreciate your understanding in this regard if we need to. A reminder that all comments should be addressed through the chair. The members who are regular members on this committee, they know the procedure that I use as a chair. If we see that you ask the question to the officials and you feel the officials are going too long, instead of interrupting them, please raise your hand and I will stop the watch and let them finish their thought process, and then you can start asking the question and I will start the watch again. And before we begin, I would like to welcome two honorable members that are filling for other members. First, my dear friend, Julie Jurovich, welcome to the committee. And the other friend is Julie Dubrason, and welcome to the committee as well, Julie. So two Julies, that's why I just wanted to make sure that I even know the names of the ridings too, you know. One is from Devonport, the other one is from Toronto, Danforth. Right, so with that, and let me see. Now I can welcome the witnesses on your behalf. Is there anything, Mr. Bruno Duceppe, you want to add?
Oui, juste pour vérifier, Monsieur le Président.
Yes, just to check, Chair. Perhaps this is a point of order. Do Zoom participants need to keep their camera on at all times? Oh, thank you, Ms. Bruson. Thank you.
Bruno Duceppe, if the camera is not on, they are not considered as present. So if the vote is called, then I would not take their vote. So that is the process. It is up to the members to keep their camera on. It is not mandatory, but if the camera is not on, they will not be counted as sitting in the committee. Okay, I think it's enough now. So on behalf of all of you, now I would like to welcome our witnesses. And I will start with the Department of Citizenship and Immigration, Director General Immigration Program Guidance, Michelle Moscal. Did I say the name right? Welcome. and also the Director General Family and Social Immigration Branch, Mr. James McNamee. Welcome. And Director General, International Platform, Elizabeth Snow. Welcome. And from the Department of Finance, we have Director Financial Services, Trade and Relations, Financial Sector Policy Branch, Mr. Sven Linkrus. Please, you're welcome. And also Senior Economist, Financial Sector Branch, we have Mr. Jeffrey Smith. Welcome to the committee. And from the Department of Foreign Affairs, Trade and Development, Executive Director, Greater China Political and Coordination, Madam Jenny Chen. Welcome. So welcome to all of you. And now you have the witnesses. You have 5 minutes to put your remarks. And we can start with the IRCC. And please, you can go, Mr. McNamee. Go ahead, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Merci, Monsieur le Président. Before I begin, I would like to acknowledge that I am speaking today on the traditional unceded lands of the Algonquin Anishinaabe peoples. Je voudrais commencer par reconnaître.
I would like to acknowledge that I am speaking today on the traditional and unceded lands of the Algonquin Anishinaabe people.
I'd also like to acknowledge that I'm joined by my colleagues, who you've already mentioned here from the Department of Finance, IRCC, and the Department of Global Affairs, Canada. Canada stands shoulder to shoulder with the people of Hong Kong, and we continue to monitor the situation as they navigate the impacts of the new Article 23 national security legislation. Le Canada est aux côtés du peuple de Hong Kong.
Canada stands shoulder to shoulder with the people of Hong Kong, and we continue to monitor the situation as they navigate the impacts of the new Article 23 national security legislation.
IRCC plays a significant role in the attraction, selection, and integration of Hong Kong nationals in Canada. I would like to begin by contextualizing IRCC's role in your study of pension transferability and the access to the Mandatory Provident Fund for Hong Kongers now residing in Canada. Bien que IRCC joue un rôle important.
While IRCC plays a significant role in the attraction, selection, and integration of Hong Kong nationals in Canada, I would like to begin by contextualizing IRCC's role in your study of pension transferability and access to the Mandatory Provident Fund for Hong Kongers now residing in Canada.
Responsible for the issuance of Canadian permanent resident cards, which prove permanent residency status. The cards contain information on the holder, including their nationality, their country of birth. IRCC adheres to international standards set by the International Civil Aviation Organization and International Standards Organization when determining the 3-letter country codes listed on these status documents, drawing the information from the applicant's passport. In our support of Hong Kong nationals, IRCC has taken concrete action by implementing special measures for those who wish to come or extend their stay in Canada, as well as to those who wish to stay here permanently. Dans notre soutien aux ressortissants de Hong Kong,
in our support of Hong Kong nationals, IRCC has taken concrete action by implementing special measures for those who wish to come to or extend their stay in Canada, as well as those who wish to stay here permanently.
In 2021, IRCC launched a public policy that allows eligible Hong Kong residents with recently completed post-secondary studies to apply for an open work permit valid for up to 3 years. That same year, we also launched 2 permanent resident pathways for Hong Kong nationals with Canadian post-secondary or work experience. As of April 30, 2024, over 37,300 open work permits have been approved, and 7,300 individuals have been approved for permanent residence under these measures. Demand for these pathways remains high. La demande pour ces voies d'accès demeure élevée.
Demand for these pathways remains high.
Their status in Canada while waiting for a decision on their permanent residence application. A new public policy was launched on May 27, 2024, that will give certain applicants to the permanent resident pathways an opportunity to obtain a new open work permit and remain in Canada while they await a decision. To be eligible, a client's application must have been accepted into processing by IRCC. The client has to have held a work or study permit in the 3 years prior to their submission of their permanent residence application. Work permits will be valid for up to 3 years and may also be issued to eligible family members. IRCC remains committed to taking action where possible to assist Hong Kong nationals in establishing themselves in Canada. IRCC reste déterminé à agir dans la mesure du possible pour aider les ressortissants.
IRCC remains committed to taking action where possible to assist Hong Kong nationals in establishing themselves in Canada.
We welcome any questions you may have. Je vous remercie une fois de plus de me permettre de me joindre à vous aujourd'hui.
Thank you for the opportunity to join you today. We welcome any questions you may have.
Ooh, 4 minutes. Good job. And now I will go to the honorable members for the first round. And we are going to start with my dear friend from Calgary Center, Mr. McLean. You have 6 minutes. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm going to relay the last meeting we had because some disconnects occurred in that meeting about the mandatory provident fund and the ability to extract funds from that pension fund once people were in Canada, people of Hong Kong origin, obviously. And so we'd like your input very clearly on how many of those citizens coming over from Hong Kong that are trying to access the mandatory provident fund savings are able to access those, and how many are not able to access those because of delays or not having the proper forms. Can you give us a quick briefing on that? What you know of that subject, first of all, please?
Mr. McLean, go ahead, please.
Thank you very much for the question. I would like to ask one of my colleagues who is more familiar with the MPF to address the question. Thank you.
Go ahead, please.
So with respect to, IRCC doesn't have information on individuals who may have applied to transfer their pensions, so we don't have any information on that. We're not privy to that information.
Thank you. The problem is that people that come over with a Hong Kong passport through a British nationals overseas passport and get a Canadian passport have a designation that they arrive at here, they arrive on their passport here, that indicates that. And the contention is that as a result of that, they aren't able to access their their mandatory provident funds. Are you aware of this issue?
So yes, IRCC has been made aware of that issue for those who may have challenges seeking sort of early withdrawal of their pension as a result of changes that were implemented for the MPF.
Can I have a little more fulsome answer, please? Can you tell me how many people have indicated that this is a problem for them?
Thank you for the question. IRCC has not received any inquiries from individuals who have expressed concerns with that.
So when you say you're aware of it, how are you aware of it?
Thank you for the question. So we're aware of it, through news releases and communications from stakeholders.
Okay, thank you. The issue, of course, is it came up in March 2021 when the Hong Kong government indicated that they would be changing the accessibility for the mandatory provident fund funds to people leaving Hong Kong on the British national overseas passport. Something changed at that point in time where Canadians getting Canadian permanent residency certificates were no longer able to access those funds. Did anything change in your department at that point in time to make sure that Canadians that came here still could access those funds?
We'll have to come back on that question because I don't have any information at this moment about Canadians who may have come over having challenges accessing.
So when I say Canadians, I mean people that are becoming Canadians from Hong Kong.
We'll have to come back on that question to see if anybody has specifically raised that. I don't have the information at this time.
Okay, so something changed in March of 2021 where the British national overseas passport or visa was no longer able to access the mandatory provident funds as well as it was before. What I need to know is the signals, or pardon me, the designations you put on the Canadian passports associated with the British nationals overseas are GBN, I believe?
So thank you. Thank you for the question. The three-letter country code that's associated with British National Overseas in accordance with the International Civil Aviation Organization standards is, in fact, GBN.
We need to be a little more quicker here, please, Ms. Maskell. So GBN is the right answer.
Yes.
Okay. Why would it be possible to change that? Because the people that are coming over with a GBN on their passport, their new Canadian documents, are now indicating they cannot access the funds they put away for retirement.
Ms. Maskell.
Sorry. Thank you for the question. PR cards are issued to be consistent with the travel document that the applicant has provided, and the country code and associated nationality are issued and issued in accordance with the ICAO standards.
Well, thank you. So there's no change that's going to happen then as far as people having trouble becoming Canadian citizens and accessing the same funds that would come over if they came over directly on a Hong Kong to Canadian PR. Is that correct?
Thank you for the question. PR cards will continue to be issued in accordance with the ICAO standards.
Thank you very much. The problem we have here, of course, is that people are not going to be able, indications are people cannot access the mandatory provident funds, pension funds. So we're going to have to find a way to make sure they have a good pension in Canada, and that'll cost them. It's money they put away. It's a mandatory deduction. Are you aware if we're providing benefits like Canada Pension Plan investment benefits to people that live in China?
Ms. Maskell or Mr. McNamee? Mr. McNamee, go ahead, please.
Sorry, is there somebody from finance here?
Mr. Lincuse, would you want to go ahead? Please go ahead.
Sorry, their question was whether there's a provision for former Hong Kong residents to receive.
Yeah, and I'm sorry if the question was unclear. I'm looking for some kind of reciprocity where Hong Kongers that are becoming Canadian permanent residents are not receiving the money that they put away for the mandatory provident fund, their pension fund, whereas people that have moved from Canada to parts of the PRC, even Hong Kong, are receiving CPPI benefits. Is there any indication of some consistency of approach in this?
Mr. Lincuse.
I'm sorry, but I don't have any information on the reciprocity issue with respect to exchange of pension benefits between Canada and other countries.
And the time is up, 6:30. I will go to Mr. Ali. Please go ahead. And one thing before I go to the honorable members, if you can, just like Mr. McLean mentioned, the name of the individual or the department your question is going to, so they can prepare beforehand to make sure your answer is properly addressed. So that will be very much appreciated. With that, Mr. Ali, please go ahead for 6 minutes.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you to all witnesses for being here, appearing before the committee. My question is to the officials from IRCC, that we have heard many concern from Hong Kongers that they will not be able to enter Canada because they have participated in pro-democracy protests. Can you walk us through the process that immigration officers go through when examining foreign charges and convictions, and whether Hong Kongers who participated in these protests are barred from entering or remaining in Canada?
Ms. Snow. Ms. Snow.
Thank you for the question. Within the legislation, there are provisions that officers will look at with respect to criminality, but the criminality has to equivalate to Canadian law. So for Hong Kong nationals who would have participated in protests, there would have to be an equivalent part in the Canadian Criminal Code that would find them inadmissible. And based on experience, that is not the case. Further, officers are also very aware and mindful of the complexities and are looking at the cases on an individualized basis. And they do have sound judgment, so they know that there are unique circumstances to take into consideration for Hong Kong.
Thank you.
Can you, through Chair, can you kindly elaborate on the specific services and support mechanisms available for Hong Kong nationals seeking refuge in Canada?
Mr. McNamee, go ahead, please.
If I understood the question correctly, as who applicants for permanent residence, once they are approved, are eligible, of course, for the standard settlement and integration services that IRCC offers. In the case of applicants who are perhaps seeking to come as refugees, they would be eligible to the programs that are available for persons seeking that status. Those services range from settlement and integration services, employment services, and related in Canada. Those services are available for those who have been approved for permanent residence and are available across the board for all applicants, regardless of country of origin.
Remember,
To follow up on the same question, as you said that there's two pathways for PR residents. Is there any specific services for refugees who are from Hong Kong nationals?
Insofar as we do provide a special pathway for them to seek permanent residence if they have been living in Canada, working or studying, as well as if they've been here on a temporary basis, they're able to extend that stay through open work permits of various durations. On the 27th of May, we announced a special public policy that enables anyone from Hong Kong who has held previously a permit to continue to remain in Canada by applying to that new pathway that allows them to remain for an additional 3 years. That's to enable them to bridge the gap between the time that they've applied for permanent residence and when they may obtain that.
Thank you. As you know, other countries from allies, they have different measures for nationals of Hong Kong. Is there any specific programs that in other countries Canada should look at it? Do we have any overview that other countries might have a different programs and we have a different programs? Any comparison or any specific measures?
Mr.
we have
McNamee,
different than-
I'm not familiar with what other countries have in place for Hong Kong, but I will say that Canada has traditionally had one of the most generous pathways for anyone seeking protection and support.
And then this question to finance, that do you think any challenges insurance companies have had providing pension benefit to Hong Kongers in Canada who have made claims?
We are not specifically aware of any identifiable cases that Canadian insurance companies that are active in Hong Kong have had. No specific cases have been brought to our attention.
Is there any challenges it might come to your attention that Hong Kongers living in Canada might encounter trying to access their pension?
We're aware of the general situation whereby, as we understand it, the rules of the Mandatory Provident Fund are that if you are going to leave Hong Kong, then you have to establish permanent residency in your new country and sign some sort of document to say that you're not coming back to Hong Kong, at which point your application to withdraw those funds would be considered. We're aware of the general issues that former Hong Kongers have faced, but we're not aware of any specific cases that have been brought to our attention.
thank you very much, Mr. Ali. With that, your time is up. We can come back to you for the next round. So with this, my dear friend, Mr. Bruno Duceppe, you have 6 minutes.
Merci, mon président préféré.
Thank you, my favorite chair. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to this panel. Mr. McNamee, you have said that you were concerned about the national security law. I believe you mentioned this in your opening remarks. Are you concerned because, in your view, It's a violation of human rights. Why are you so concerned about this law?
Je dirais que nous sommes inquiets pour
I would say we're concerned about this law because it has the potential to violate the human rights of Hong Kongers. That's why we put in place certain programs for people wishing to leave Hong Kong or remain in Canada. So you would agree that this law is dangerous. You're concerned about it, as you noted. Are you concerned due to reasons of international human rights? And if you think the situation is so concerning at the human rights level, should you not be putting in place special measures for victims of human rights violations? Because again, you noted that human rights were being violated.
Oui, bon, le Canada.
Well, Canada already has programs for people in such situations. We have a refugees program. Every year, that program takes in a number of people. But we're speaking specifically about Hong Kong here. Yes. Hong Kong citizens can also take part in these programs if they feel they are in danger. What is more, we have the public policy that we announced, which will allow people who wishing to leave Hong Kong or stay in Canada to benefit from the protection of our country. So there are tools to help Hong Kongers. So we understand that you're acting in good faith, and you've noted that the national security law violates human rights, but there are Canadian financial institutions working in Hong Kong who came before the committee and who told us that they must operate according to local laws. These are Canadian financial institutions saying, our hands are tied. Meanwhile, you here are saying that their international human rights are being violated. And then there's Hong Kong Watch and Hong Kong Link saying that people want to be able to withdraw their funds but cannot do so because Canadian financial institutions are being forced to apply the laws of an authoritarian regime. And yet Canada has not put in place measures to counter these measures and let people withdraw their own funds. So I think everyone here is acting in good faith. What I'm asking is for you to think outside the box a little bit and make it so that people can withdraw their funds from Canadian financial institutions and have something to live on when they eventually get permanent residence. So with that in mind, is your department considering creative measures to help people who, as you admitted, were victims of human rights violations? To begin, IRCC has strong ties to the financial authorities. Inaudible for the interpreter. I'm sorry. Already you're answering from a false premise. We're talking here about financial operations. This requires permanent residence. You're the ones who give out permanent residence status. You have you need to find ways to let people withdraw their funds.
Add something? No?
Je dirais simplement.
Well, I would just say that perhaps some of my colleagues could talk a little bit about how we process permanent residence applications. Do I have any time left, Chair?
OK, j'ai une minute. J'ai l'impression que, malheureusement,
Unfortunately, I get the sense that no one's thinking outside the box here, despite the fact that, as the department just noted, there are international human rights violations going on. Ms. Chen, you have an important role over at Global Affairs. I imagine you are also concerned about this new national security law. Do you know Jimmy Lai Have you heard of this person? Do you think that his trial was dealt with fairly?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, we are aware of the case of Mr. Jimmy Lai, a UK citizen currently under trial of the national security law. We have repeatedly expressed concerns to Hong Kong authorities about the trial of Mr. Lai and others also being tried under the national security law. So, yes.
Est-ce que vous demandez, vous conseillez la ministre des Affaires étrangères?
You provide advice to the Minister of Foreign Affairs. Did you advise the minister to call for the release of Jimmy Lai? Because right now he's on trial for breaking a law that itself violates international human rights. So have you advised Melanie Joly to call for his release?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I can tell you that we have repeatedly expressed concerns about the national security law, and actually at the recent Universal Periodic Review in Geneva and the Human Rights Council, we called for the NSL's full repeal because of our concerns around the NSL.
Thank you very much. And we will go to Madam Kwan. Madam Kwan, you have 6 minutes. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and thank you to the witnesses. My first question is to the finance officials. Yesterday, we were advised by Manulife and Sun Life that in order for Hong Kongers to be able to access their pension funds, they have to, because of the regulations, it requires that they produce documentation to show that they're either a citizen or a permanent resident in an alternate country. Could you advise and confirm for us that if those regulations are Canadian regulations?
Those regulations are the requirements of the Hong Kong regulatory authorities in order to release money from the funds, and those are the regulations and rules that the Canadian financial institutions whose subsidiaries in Hong Kong, those are the rules that they have to follow.
Thank you very much. And in accordance with those regulations, are you aware if there are any provisions that would allow for people who, for example, are fleeing persecution, for example, and therefore they may not be able to readily be able to produce documentations to verify that they have secure permanent residency elsewhere? Are there provisions within those regulations that would recognize that?
I don't have any information on the specific content or perhaps exceptions that might be in the Hong Kong regulations.
All right, thank you. I do not believe that they are. I tried to ask the question of both Sun Life and Manulife yesterday, although they didn't answer my question directly, but that seems to be the case. Now, with that being said, I'm going to go to global affairs in terms of my next question. So these are Canadian institutions, and these are individuals, Hong Kongers, who's come to Canada seeking the lifeboat scheme precisely because they're being persecuted, particularly some of them under the national security law and others under their activities for a pro-democracy movement. And so in light of this, what action will Global Affairs take to help Hong Kongers access their pension funds for those that are here in Canada?
Madam Chen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I guess, like others, I'm not aware of any specific cases that would have been brought forward. I guess I would invite, if you are aware of any specific cases, we would invite them to bring them to our attention.
Sorry, Mr. Chair, I'm sorry, I can't raise my hand readily here, but that wasn't my question.
I can see, if you raise your hand, I can see that, Madam Kwan, no problem. I will make sure I stop the watch. Thank you, but you're doing very good, excellent. Thank you, go ahead, please.
Thank you.
Okay.
I appreciate that. But that wasn't my question. My question was about the regulatory measures that are in place. What action will GAC take to address the regulatory measures for Hong Kongers who are here through the Lifeboat scheme before they have achieved getting their PR card or citizenship to access their pension funds?
Thank you very much. I think this is something that we'll have to take back internally to discuss what's the best way to approach this with local Hong Kong authorities. We are in regular contact with local Hong Kong authorities. As you know, there's a broad spectrum of issues with which we are dealing with the government of Hong Kong, and we would be open to having such a discussion with Hong Kong authorities.
All right. I would ask then for GAC to report back to this committee on what measures have you undertaken to assist Hong Kongers who are here to access their pension funds through the special LIFO scheme that the government has provided to them prior to them succeed in getting their PR status. If I could get a confirmation that undertaking will be followed.
Doing so.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Honourable Member.
I like to thank you, Chair. I'd like to now go to IRCC officials. In light of what we know, is that people cannot access their pension funds until they have PR status, and in light of the fact that the current processing time for Hong Kongers is at least 21 months. And the government has just introduced an extension of the program because they're not anticipating that the Hong Kongers will be able to get their PR card anytime soon, and to the point that the extension will be at least 3 years. And while people wait, they can't access their funds. So what will IRCC do, and will IRCC actually ensure that Hong Kongers' PR application would be processed within the original priority processing average, which was 6 months? Will IRCC materialize that for Hong Kongers so that they can expeditiously access their pension funds?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The current processing time for the applications is under 8 months. I'm unclear where the 21 months surfaced, but it is under 8 months. There is quite a considerable number of applications that did arrive in 2023 that we processed through 2024, but there's no, at the moment, there's no indication that processing will increase to 21 months.
Well, I have provided a spreadsheet to the minister's office with a variety of applications where people are just waiting and waiting and waiting. And the average processing time is 21 months. If you actually talk to people on the ground with respect to that, I'm happy to share that spreadsheet with officials for sure. But that, of course, is not all the people. And so now, related to that, so we had a briefing from officials.
Madam Kwan, your time is up right now. We are at 6:27 right now, so I'll come back to you for the second round. Thank you.
Okay.
And we will go to Mr. Radikov. Mr. Radikov, you have 5 minutes. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you to the witnesses for being here. I want to pick up on what Madam Kwan was talking about. In 2012, to Ms. Chan, in 2012, the former Conservative government led by Stephen Harper signed a treaty with Hong Kong. And this was to deal with double taxation issues with regards to income tax. And the purpose of this, of course, is that to treat taxpayers fairly in paying in each jurisdiction and to prevent tax sheltering and money laundering. So, Ms. Chen, do you monitor the People's Republic of China and Hong Kong administrative government for compliance with the treaty as signed by Prime Minister Harper?
Madam Chen.
On this one, we'll have to get back to you on this particular question. Yes.
Thank you, Honourable Member.
Okay, so you're not aware of this treaty. That's kind of shocking because it's very relevant here. In Article 17B of Schedule 2 of the treaty's implementation legislation, and I'll quote it just for your reference, it says, pensions, including lump sums arising in a party and paid to a resident of the other party in consideration of past employment may be taxed in the party in which they arise and according to the laws of that party. Essentially, it is specifically to deal with pensions that are in one or the other jurisdiction. And that means so that people are treated fairly in that situation. In this treaty, there's no mention of the type of passport that one must have in order to be applicable to that treaty. There's nothing that I've been able to find that says you can't have a BNO passport, or you need this or you need that, and this is causing a problem because we heard from Manulife and Sun Life on Monday that they're conflicted because they have a PR card from Canada, but yet it seems like the Hong Kong government, Beijing, has said you can't take your money out. So do you agree with my assessment that we have a problem here, that the treaty doesn't actually mention that, and yet the insurance companies are stuck because they don't know whether to follow Canadian law or Hong Kong law?
Madam Chen.
Yeah, thank you. As mentioned, we're just going to have to take that question and come back to you when we can look to our experts and do a full analysis. Thank you.
Okay, so I take that to mean you'll provide us with a written report of this situation. You also mentioned that you weren't aware of specific cases. Is there a way for someone to contact you to make you aware of a specific case?
Honourable member, you have asked the question. Madam Chen, please go ahead.
If I may, I would welcome, I think, any individual cases to brought to any of our attention. I think here we are also actively engaged with stakeholders, so any cases can also be brought forward through those channels.
Honourable member.
Thank you. I want to talk a bit about Hong Kong visas and to IRCC. As Madam Kwan was just mentioning, there are a lot of people who are struggling that I've talked to, she has as well, that are waiting and waiting and waiting. And I guess one of the questions I have is, with this new measure introduced on May 27th, there was a lot of confusion over the acknowledgement of receipt. People were saying they were trying to apply for things, they weren't getting an acknowledgement of receipt. Can you clarify, is that a necessary step if somebody's already in the system? Are they supposed to wait for that, or what's the situation around that?
Ms. Maskal, please go ahead.
Thank you for the question. Our website's being updated to reflect that individuals are not required to submit the acknowledgement of release with their receipt with their application. So they can be processed if they don't have that, and so it's not required as part of the application process.
Okay, well, that would be very helpful because that's causing a lot of confusion in the community. The other question I have is a bit more general, but same lines. There are 8,000 or 9,000 people currently in the queue. There's you mentioned 37,000 that are in the system. We expect those numbers will probably come in to PR applications at some point. The humanitarian compassionate category only allows for 13,000 people this year and then 8,000. How's the department going to deal with the influx of people processing in that category?
Ms. Snow?
So I believe that there was a similar question raised in the committee meeting around Gaza and the Sudan, and the department has made a commitment to come back on this matter. So we will echo that sentiment here, that the department will come back with more clarity on how the numbers and the agency category will be parceled out.
Thank you. And I guess I don't have a lot of time left, but I just wanted to, again, reiterate, I saw some data that was about 800 respondents, and the average application date of that group was back to May of last year. And so that would indicate that the processing times are quite a bit higher than the 6 months or the 8 months as you described today. So I think there is some disconnect in what people are experiencing or what they believe they're experiencing and what you're telling us. So just wanted to make you aware of that.
Thank you very much. Now we will go to my dear friend from Devonport, Madam Jirovich. Please go ahead, 5 minutes.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I just want to say thanks to all the witnesses today. Thanks for being here. Thanks for this great conversation. Thanks to everyone for letting me come be part of this conversation. There's two parts to the study. The first part is the access to the Mandatory Provident Fund. My understanding is that there is an agreement, the Agreement on Social Security, between the Government of Canada and the Government of the People's Republic of Canada, which provides for coordination of pension benefits between the Chinese and Canadian companies and employees, but it doesn't apply to the Mandatory Provident Fund for Hong Kongers. Maybe my question is to you, Mr. Lindqvist. Is there any other agreement that could govern or that could provide some guidance on how to deal with this outstanding issue?
Mr. Lindqvist.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm not aware of any such agreement, but I would have to consult internally with perhaps some of our tax policy experts who deal with these international tax types of treaties. And we'd have to get back to you.
And are you?
One person at a time, please. Let him
I
finish.
got so excited,
No, I know.
Mr. Chair.
So,
Are you aware of the agreement of the Social Security? Like, are you aware of that agreement that I just read out, agreement of Social Security between Government of Canada and the People's Republic of China?
Mr. Linkers.
I am not personally aware of that agreement, but I'm sure there's somebody in another part of the Department of Finance who would have information about that.
Only reason I was asking was just because I wonder if there's an arbitration element of that agreement that could actually apply. But if you're not aware of it, then that would be moot. Okay, so then I'm going to go on to my next set of questions, which is really around the second part of this study, which is access of the Hong Kongers in Canada to viable pathways to Canadian permanent residence. Maybe my question is to Ms. Snow, what are all the current viable pathways to Canadian permanent residence for Hong Kongers in Canada?
Mr. McNamee.
Oh, sorry, yes, thank you.
Thank you. So Hong Kongers have access to all the pathways that we have currently in the department. Those include family reunification pathways. So this is for people who are trying to bring their families over. The economic pathways, which include the express entry system and all the skilled migration pathways. We also have business program pathways, as well as pathways managed through the provincial territorial governments, in addition to the special pathway that we created in 2021, which will be in effect for another year until 2025. That enables people who have previously worked or studied in Canada to continue to apply for permanent residence and get access through that mechanism. So there are many, many pathways that are available to Hong Kong nationals.
Honourable Member.
Is the fact that we have, it seems like we have some long processing times within IRCC, and I'm wondering whether that is impacting some of the applications from, I think you mentioned, Ms. Snow, that on average it's 8 months for a Hong Kong resident in Canada to apply from a work permit to permanent residence. Is that true?
Madam Snow.
For the streams, for the public policies that we've introduced for Hong Kong,
Yeah.
the data is showing under 8 months right now.
Okay, which is excellent. I understand. And then my last questions are to Ms. Chen. Ms. Chen, is there a concern by the People's Republic of China around Hong Kongers trying to immigrate to Canada? Are there sort of political concerns? Are there any considerations that the People's Republic has raised through global affairs around Hong Kongers coming to Canada?
Ms. Chen.
The PRC government is very much well aware of Canada's overall concerns around political developments in Hong Kong, but on this issue specifically, they have not raised it with us.
Remember.
Trying to think if there's any other. I think that's all questions for me.
30 seconds left.
Oh.
Might as well utilize, otherwise I'll go to the next one.
Yes, thank you. Go to the
Thank
next one.
you
Thanks so
very much. Now we will go to my dear friend, Mr. Bruno de Sepp, for 2.5 minutes. Go ahead, please.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to circle back to the end of my last question, Ms. Chen. Let me understand here. You're saying that you expressed your concerns to the Hong Kong authorities about the national security law. Was that you were saying earlier? Okay. The International Human Rights Subcommittee, which is a subcommittee of the Foreign Affairs Committee of the House of Commons, put out a press release calling for the release of Jimmy Lai. And up till now, you have been unable to say whether whether Global Affairs agrees with the committee's conclusions.
Madam Chen.
Thank you. Again, the Canada's position on Jimmy Lai is very well known to the Hong Kong authorities and so forth. We're also well aware of there was a unanimous consent motion within Parliament in December about the case of Jimmy Lai. It is also my understanding that our minister also, Minister Joly, also voted in favor of that motion, given it was unanimous.
Mr. Brunel.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
So Canada has called for the release of Jimmy Lai.
Oui ou non?
Yes or no?
Madam Chen.
I would say again, the PRC government and the Hong Kong authorities are aware of the unanimous consent motion that was approved in Parliament, which also included, of course, votes by our Minister of Foreign Affairs.
Honourable member.
C'est vraiment pas compliqué. Je veux juste vous en...
It's not that complicated. I just want you to say whether Canada is calling for the release of Jimmy Lai. Yes or no? That's the only question I'm asking.
So I guess to be absolutely 100% clear, we have not specifically requested the release of Jimmy Lai. However, we have expressed serious concerns around the trial of Jimmy Lai. We continue to work with the UK government and others to ensure that we are maintaining a consistent advocacy approach around Mr. Lai, again, because it is considered an important consular case for the UK government. We want to approach advocacy around his case with a great deal of respect and responsibility. But I can tell you we have been in touch with his legal counsel and his family over time. So again, they are very much aware of the work of the Government of Canada on his case.
Thank you.
Donc, on dit que la loi viole les droits.
So we agree that the national security law violates international human rights. We agree that there's concerns about the law. We agree that the trial is a sham trial, and yet Canada is not calling for the release of Jimmy Lai.
Your time is up. Now we'll go to Madam Kwan. Madam Kwan, please go ahead for 2.5 minutes.
Well, thank you for that. I may add that we should actually be calling for the release of all political prisoners in Hong Kong in relation to the national security law and the most recent Article 23. I hope that the officials will bring that back to the minister as well. I want to follow up with IRCC officials, Ms. No, on your comment that the average processing time is now 8 months. There are about 10,000 people waiting for PR application to be processed from Hong Kong at the moment. That's as of March 2024. Can she confirm then that those individuals will get their PR applications processed in 8 months?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. There, as raised by another member, there is a limit to the levels for this year of 13,500, with another 8,000 booked next year. We will process according to the levels plan. So at the moment, the processing is under 8 months. We don't anticipate the processing will rise to 21 months, but we will work within the levels that have been approved by Parliament and that our minister is accountable for.
How many are being processed right now per month for Hong Kongers?
No.
So I will have to, the department will have to revert back if you wish to have monthly statistics. What I have is year to date.
Yes, I would like to get monthly statistics. And also on the question around statistics, I asked for the Gaza, at the Gaza meeting, the breakdown of the immigration levels numbers related to the variety of different special immigration measures. That was on May the 27th. So by the end of this week, it'll be 2 weeks. Can we actually get that information, because it pertains to this study as well, by next Monday? Can I get a confirmation for that?
I will take that back to the department to raise your concern that the committee has been waiting for 2 weeks.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would actually raise this as a motion and then have the committee call on the officials to provide that documents. I like to get this before we actually adjourn in this sitting of the House and still have enough time to go back to it if necessary. Mr. Chair, can you confirm if I need a motion to request that undertaking, or can it just be a direction be given?
You can give the direction, and I will ask the questions to the officials if they can. Otherwise, we can always pass this motion. So I will go to Mr. McNamee and Madam Snow or Madam Maskell if they want to respond. I have stopped the watch because your time is already almost up, and let me figure it out.
We'll take this back and commit to provide that information to you. We are aware that the request is in the system. It's being worked on, but I can't give you at this time an exact timeline on when it will be done. But it is obvious, always requests from the committee are given priority.
Your time is up. You are satisfied with that, or you want to address this?
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate that. However, I think that we, especially in light of the fact that we know people's pensions funds are being withheld until the application can be processed. We just heard from Ms. Snow that the immigration levels plan is going to impact processing in terms of people getting their PR. And so I think this is all related, and the committee members need to have that information. So I would like to ask support of the committee members to ensure that we get that information back from officials by next Monday.
The unanimous consent from the committee?
Yes.
Is it yes? Mr. Chang?
I will.
You want to speak to that?
I will defer to our department official if that's appropriate time or if they need more time.
Okay, there's a question now. I will give Mr. McNamee the floor. Mr. McNamee, you want to respond to Mr. Chang's question?
Yes, I would like to be able to come back to the committee with an exact date, just that it is Wednesday and Monday is coming up very quickly to be able to produce that information.
So basically, Mr. McNamee, you are saying that you would not be able to produce by Monday. Is that correct? Or you
I
are
would
not
like more
making
time if possible, yes.
Okay. Mr.
Sorry, on a point of order,
Sure,
Mr.
sure.
Chair.
No, Madam Kwan, you go ahead. I mean, you know that your time is up, but I still entertained. So there's no matter. I mean, I have Mr. McLean on the speaking list, and I will put you on the speaking list as well. No worries. Mr. McLean, you want to say?
Thank you. Sorry, we're talking about some readily available data here, and you're saying we can't get it in a day or two?
Mr. McNamee.
Release has to be reviewed to ensure that it is publicly releasable. Sometimes information includes small cell data, which identifies individuals, and we want to avoid that wherever possible, so it takes a little bit of time.
Well, of course. We're not looking for personal identification. We're looking for numbers. And I'm not sure what's going to, you should have a database of this, and it should be readily available and be able to handle it in a few hours, quite frankly. And so I'm challenged by why this can't be produced very, very quickly here.
Not all experts. I will leave it to the officials to respond. Madam Kwan, please go ahead.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I'm just trying to get clarity here with respect to that. Just to be clear, that request for that data was made on May the 27th. So by next Monday, it would have been 2 weeks, not just a couple of days for this data to be made available for this committee. It's the same data that's being asked for to be sent to our committee. So it's been 2 weeks. And time is of the essence here. So am I hearing then on the unanimous consent motion that you asked committee members on, am I hearing then that Mr. Chan is voting no? Or is there unanimous consent?
No. Nobody's voting no yet. It's only the debate right now. Madam Kwan, the members have questions to the officials, and that is fully appropriate. As I said, that I'm giving this additional time to discuss, and there's no vote, and there's no person has said that they don't support it. They were just asking the question to make sure that the officials have the appropriate time. So every member has the right, as I said. So I have not called the vote yet. And Madam Jurovich.
Since we're still in
Sorry.
debate.
Sorry, Madam Kwan, yes?
Sorry, Mr. Chair. So can I just finish then? I just wanted that clarity in terms of where we're at with respect to that vote. So thank you for clarifying. I very much appreciate that. Then I just want to have a quick response to the officials with respect to potential data that might compromise individual privacy in terms of names and so on and so forth. I do want to reiterate what the undertaking is about the larger data number. It's not about the individuals or their names or their specific case in terms of processing. It is about for the government to advise this committee based on the immigration levels plan of this year, which is under the HNC category, 18,500. Next year is 8,000, and the following year is also 8,000. How they're going to target the various different needs of special immigration measures and other HNC needs in the global community that IRCC are contemplating and trying to address, and as well as the protected persons category. So these are broad numbers, and particularly what those targets are for each of those different countries or regions, and so that we may know how these numbers will measure up in terms of processing.
Please go ahead.
I just want to be clear, there's no personal information here.
No, I was just, in the debate, Mr. Chair, I was just going to ask if officials felt, how much time the officials felt they needed, whether they felt they needed one extra week, a couple of extra days. I just wanted to see where you were at.
Mr. McNamee.
We're aware of the request, and I believe it's being acted on as expeditiously as possible. I just can't tell you exactly that it will be ready on Monday, but I will tell you that we're working on it, and it will be ready as soon as possible.
Would it be Wednesday? You think that will be appropriate, Mr. McNamee, if I see the consensus in the committee? You want Monday? I mean, Mr. McNamee, what do you feel? Whatever you feel confident, just give the answer. If I need to go to the vote, then I will. If I see the consensus in the committee, then that will work.
I think in a week's time it would be possible to produce it or to finalize whatever product we are in the process of producing, because the request has been in place now for a while, as Chan has indicated.
Okay, Madam Kwan and other members, I think is it appropriate? Yeah, I see the heads nodding. So we gave the IRCC to produce the requested information by next Wednesday. Thank you very much, Madam Kwan. Your time is way up, and so we will go to.
It's an approved motion.
It's approved. It's approved. It's approved. Agreed. Agreed. Unanimously agreed. Right? Okay. Thank you. And now I'm going to the critic, the only one and only one, Mr. Kmitch. 5 minutes, please go ahead.
Thanks, Chair. Mr. McNamee, at the beginning, there was when we were debating this PR card, there is a person who's now corresponded with the committee saying that she's affected by it and gave the example. So that's the example I'm using. At the previous committee on the Canadian PR card, it appears GBN. That's how the Hong Kong government, that's how the Beijing government is identifying people who came to Canada on a BNO passport. We're told now that these are ICAO rules. Are these standards or recommended practices?
Mr. McNamee.
Ms. Maskell to take it.
Maskell, please go ahead.
Thank you for the question. The ICAO does have a standard for machine-readable travel documents, and contained within there, the country code for the British national overseas is GBN.
Honourable member, is it a standard or a practice?
It's a standard.
It's a standard. So there are differences between one is like a recommended thing to do, the other one is like an obligation to do it because we're a member of the ICAO. So I'd like to know, in all the discussion here, since you are aware of this issue for certain Hong Kongers who've entered Canada, who've become permanent residents, and there will be more of them as thousands more continue to apply for PR, and eventually, after all the delays, will get it. Have you communicated with the ICAO?
Ms. Maskov.
Thank you for the question. I'm not aware if we've communicated with the ICAO on this particular issue.
Your branch has not of the department, or you're just not unaware of anyone in government has communicated to the ICAO that the Hong Kong administration is using Canadian PR cards to identify people they want to oppress transnationally because they're Hong Kongers who are fleeing that country and obtaining permanent residency in Canada?
Ms. Maskov.
I'm not aware if anyone in the government of Canada has raised that issue with ICAO.
Okay. The ICAO is based in Montreal, so why not?
Madam Maskov.
Thank you for the question. It's not I'm not aware of who would be leading that, so at this time I can't comment on why or why not it hasn't been raised.
So, Chair, maybe I'll ask GAC, because GAC would be responsible for dealing with these international organizations. The ICAO is based in Montreal. I'm being told that nobody's communicated to the fact that these ICAO standards are now being used to target Canadian permanent residents who are from Hong Kong who entered Canada on a BNO passport, of which this committee has an example now. Are you aware of this? Is GAC aware of this? And has GAC communicated to the ICAO?
Madam Chan.
This, for me, I'm just learning now that this is an issue being looked at by ICAO. We are aware of their headquarters being in Montreal. The lead for ICAO is actually Transport Canada, but we would be pleased to work with IRCC and Transport Canada officials to ensure that some important messages are delivered, and we can look into this issue with ICAO officials.
So to go back to Mr. McNamee, what is the downside? Like, what's the effect? Will ICAO or ICAO, what will they do if the government of Canada were to change the 4 different codes, but specifically GBN, to mark, say, HKG or CHN on the permanent resident cards that are being issued by the government of Canada? Like, does somebody monitor this, or can it just be a practice of the government to protect these Hong Kongers who fled, who get PR, to simply issue them one that doesn't show the fact and doesn't make it easy for the MPFA in Hong Kong to target them?
Mr. McNamee. Madam Maskov.
Thank you for the question. I have to bring that back and discuss with Transport Canada and other stakeholders across government.
Honourable member, go ahead, please.
How is Transport Canada involved in IRCC-issued PR cards?
Ms. Maskov.
As Ms. Chen indicated, Transport Canada is the lead for ICAO in terms of that communication.
Right.
So,
oh,
yeah.
Chair, I understand that part. I'm saying an IRCC practice, why, as a practice, don't you just change it so you don't show GBN, you show HKG or CHN to protect these Hong Kongers who've come to Canada, been issued a PR card, so we've done a security record check, background checks on them, and you're showing GBN, that's how they're being targeted. That's how the Hong Kong administration, the communists, know that these are Hong Kongers who fled and permanently do not want to go back. So I'm just saying, as a practice, what would happen?
Madam Maskov.
So thank you for the question. IRCC does issue the PR cards are designed and issued to be consistent with the travel document that's provided by the applicant. So we haven't explored further than that. They continue to be issued to be consistent with the travel document because they're used together.
Thank you. Time is up. It's 5:21. So we will go to now, dear friend, Mr. Al-Khoury.
Merci.
You have 5 minutes.
Merci, Monsieur le Président, et merci à nos...
Thank you, Chair. Thank you to our guests who have come to share such important information with our committee. My first question is for Ms. Chen. Ms. Chen, my colleague across the way asked you whether Canada has specifically called for the release of Mr. Jimmy Lai. Your response was a little bit vague. Can you say why exactly Canada has not called for the release of Mr. Jimmy Lai?
Madam Chen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm actually just reminded about the text of our statement at the Universal Periodic Review when I did say earlier that we called for the repeal of the national security law, but we also asked to discontinue all cases against individuals charged for exercising their human rights and freedoms. So we made a statement referencing all cases being tried under the national security law.
Je m'excuse, Madame Chen, avec tout le respect.
Apologies, Ms. Chen. With all due respect, I didn't ask for that. What I asked was for you to explain the arguments and the reasons why Canada did not call for the release of Jimmy Lai, and you did not give specific reasons or specific arguments.
Chen.
I think it's, Mr. Chair, it's been very clear to Mr. Lai's family, legal counsel, and his other supporters about Canada's position on his case and, of course, our position on the national security law. This, again, we have consistently spoken out about Jimmy Lai's case, and we will continue to do so.
Madame Chen, notre relation.
Ms. Chen, our relationship with China could prevent us from giving proper support to the people in Hong Kong who are undergoing a difficult situation. Is that not so?
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question? Yes.
The relation between Canada and China may play a role in order not to be more helpful for the people of Hong Kong and asking for the freedom of Mr. Jimmy Lai.
Madam Chen.
If I understand correctly, Mr. Chair, the question is about whether or not our relations with the PRC are impacting our ability to conduct advocacy on Mr. Lai's case. Is that correct?
Yes and no. I'm asking those questions as a chair for human rights. And from until this moment, I did not find a convincing reasons why we do not ask for the freedom of Mr. Jimmy Lai.
Madam Chen.
No, thank you for raising that. I guess for us, we have been focused on human rights and human rights in Hong Kong for many years. Our position has been very consistent over many years. We've spoken out multiple times about Jimmy Lai. We have called for the release of all individuals charged under the NSL. We continue to conduct that kind of advocacy. Yes, we have not specifically called for the release of Mr. Lai, but I believe our position is quite well understood by his supporters.
Now, my question addressed to Mr. Lincross and Mr. Smith probably. During the handover in the late 90s from the British to China of Hong Kong, before the flow of money to China was used to go through Hong Kong. How do you see the flow of money now from outside to Hong Kong and from Hong Kong to China? Is there any obstacle from the Chinese government, any restrictions?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Very unfortunately, I do not have any information about flows of money or investments between Canada and China.
20 seconds.
20 seconds, I was going to ask Mr. McNamee about, he said, il y a de mesures spéciales.
He said there were special measures, tangible measures for those wishing to remain in Canada with immigration pathways. Could he give a general overview of the tangible measures put in place?
Politique publique.
We have two public policies that allow Hong Kongers to remain in Canada, either as students or as workers. They will be able to remain as permanent residents under these pathways. There's this special Hong Kong process. These are that is a 3-year public policy that will last until 2025. This will allow for roughly 20,000 PR applications divided into 2 streams, Stream A and Stream B. That will include roughly 20,000 applications. And we have already received 8,000 applications.
Very much. Now we will go to Mr. Reddycop. Mr. Reddycop, you have 5 minutes. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You know, I just want to put on record that I'm very disappointed in the answers that we've gotten here today. I mean, we have IRCC deferring to Transport Canada for what's on a PR card. I'm kind of shocked at that. We have GAC not understanding there's a treaty between Canada and Hong Kong. We have Finance not understanding there's treaties to deal with pensions between the 2 countries. So I'm somewhat dumbfounded, I guess, at the lack of information, the lack of answers that we're getting today from people that I thought would have the answers. So I just wanted to get that on record. In light of that, I very quickly, I hope this can be done very quickly. I want to move a quick motion. We need to get the minister here to do sub-As before the end of June, and so I'd like to move the following motion: that pursuant to Standing Order 108-2, the committee invite the Minister of Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship to appear for 1 hour with officials, and invite departmental officials, along with officials from the Immigration and Refugee Board, to appear for 1 additional hour on the supplementary estimates A, as well as the subject matter of main estimates for the fiscal year 2024-25 before June 21st, 2024.
Thank you. The motion is in order. And Mr. El-Khoury, you are the first on the speaking list. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thanks to my colleague Brad Reddycop for moving this motion. But as a member in the Immigration Committee, I could confirm to you that the agenda of the minister is extremely congested, and we have maximum 2 more weeks. I believe it's going to be some impossible for him to, if you would like to modify your motion and postpone it to September and after, it's up to you. But this is what I'm saying you, I am convinced about it.
Reddycop.
I would just say that I respect what you say. I don't know that you speak for the minister, though. So, and I mean, if he has a choice to make to come to this, so I think we just put this on the table, and whatever happens, happens.
Thank you. I have the speaking list. Mr. Ali, please go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. I have the same. I agree with Mr. El-Khoury that the time is too close. I think it's if we can give a bit extra time, I think that would be reasonable ask, and we wouldn't have any issue on that. So I think it's if we can bring up reasonable time for the minister, I think it would be, if it's manageable for him and for as a committee for us as well. So that's what I just wanted to add that.
Mr. Bruno Duceppe, then Mr. Chang.
Oui, Monsieur le Président, en fait, c'est pas à nous.
Chair, it's not our job to decide whether the timeline is reasonable or not. The minister is the one who will say whether he can come or not. So, once we agree on the wording of the motion, we can provide it to the minister, and then he'll either come to the committee or not. Everyone seems to agree that we want to invite the minister. So let's move forward. We'll put the request to the minister, and then he'll make a decision. I'd rather spend more time with our witnesses than discussing this. So, on that note, I will call for a vote on this motion so that we can move forward with this interesting discussion with our witnesses.
I have the speaking list. I have Mr. Chang, then Madam Kwan, then Mr. Ali, and then Mr. El-Khoury. So once the list exhausted, then I will call the vote. Now I will go to Mr. Chang and then Madam Kwan. Chang. Mr. Chang, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm thinking about the timeline we have, and with only 2 weeks left to this session, I was thinking if we could replace the date as soon as possible for the minister to appear based on his schedule, because he has a quite extensive schedule with commitments across the country, not just in the House of Commons. So if we could maybe replace with as soon as possible, it may be helpful for the minister to be here.
You agree with that? No?
No, because the sub-As are going to get reported automatically, so we need to do this before that.
Madam Kwan, please go ahead.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I think committee members are correct to say it's not up to us to determine about the minister's availability. All that we can do, of course, is ask. The minister will say, no, I'm sorry, I can't come, but here's an alternate date. And so really, I think we should really just make the ask and see what the minister comes back with. This is normal practice. You know, we try to get the subs done as soon as we can, and we had already had to delay that timeline because of other urgent studies, such as the Gaza and Sudan situation. So when the minister showed up last time, you know, we talked about that. So so I think it's fair to make this request of the minister, and then they'll come back to us and tell us about his availability.
Is a date attached to the motion, so I would ask the clerk to read this motion just to make sure that the members are very clear what Mr. Redekop is asking for. Mr. Clerk.
That pursuant to Standing Order 1082, the committee invite the Minister of Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship to appear for 1 hour with officials and invite departmental officials along with officials from Immigration and Refugee Board to appear for 1 additional hour on the supplementary estimates A, as well as the subject matter of main estimates for the fiscal year 2024-25 before June 21st, 2024.
Thank you. I have Mr. Ali on the Ali, Mr. El Khoury, then Madam Girovich. Go ahead, Mr. Ali.
Thank you, Chair. I agree with everything, but I just wanted to add that give a option to Minister if it's not possible for him until June 21st, so he can give an alternate date when he will be appearing before the committee, as Ms. Kwan has suggested. So I think it's, if we can add that into it, that would be give him an leverage that, you know, he's aligned with our.
I can only
thank you.
If there is an amendment to the motion, you got to say that motion is amended only way. Otherwise, I will call this as a discussion. I cannot propose myself. And if someone, one of the honorable members, have to amend, just like Mr. Chang earlier made a request to Mr. Redekop, the amended motion should be on the floor. Only then I can go to the amendment. So with further ado, sorry, Mr. Ali, you have still the floor, and I'm going to go to Mr. El Khoury afterwards.
I was just going to ask, can we suspend for 1 minute so we can talk? If it's friendly amendment, we could work together on this. Yeah.
For a few minutes. Here we go. we are back to business, and the floor, I have the speaking list. Mr. Ali, you have the floor, and then Madam Yurovich, Mr. El Khoury, and then Mr. Kmich. I have 4 on the speaking list. No, Mr. Kmich has, Julie's off. Oh, Mr. El Khoury is off. So the person that I have is Mr. Ali. Mr. Ali, go ahead. Floor is with you.
Thank you, Chair. As I suggested that I move the friendly amendment at the end of the motion, add or an alternative date that the minister is available.
Okay. Are we, Mr. Reddycop, you accept the friendly amendment?
Yes, but with one condition that I'm done my time, that we finish the Liberal, the Bloc, and the NDP round as planned.
Sure.
Okay. Yes.
Okay. So all in favor of the amendment? Say aye. Okay, great. Everyone is in favor. All those in favor as the motion as amended? All good. No one opposing. The motion is carried, and we are going to Mr. Reddycop and Mr. Ali. So look at this, how generous both Conservatives and Liberal friends are for Mr. Brunel Desaep. Mr. Brunel Desaep, we are skipping the Conservatives and the Liberals, and we are going to give you and Madam Kwan the last round before we adjourn the meeting. So, Mr. Brunel Desaep, 2.5 minutes. Quick.
Merci, Monsieur le...
Thank you, Chair. Wow, Christmas came early this year. Ms. Chen, you have said that Canada has called for the national security law to be repealed. You have also noted that Canada is calling for the release of all people who are imprisoned under the national security law. Given that Jimmy Law is one of those political prisoners, should I not understand that if Canada is calling for the release of all prisoners, it is also calling for the release of Jimmy Lai?
Yes, I would. Yes, Mr. Chair, that I would agree with that statement.
Je suis heureux de...
Well, I'm happy to hear it. Thank you very much, Ms. Chen. I will now yield the floor to whoever wishes to take it.
Because I took the time without the consent from Mr. Chang. Mr. Chang, if I can give 2.5 minutes to Madam Kwan, then I can come back to you. I know I'm going out of order, but hopefully you will entertain my request as a chair. Okay, thank you. Madam Kwan, you have 2.5 minutes before I go to Mr. Chang, because I just went off the track. Madam Kwan.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I just want to be sure, and the question is to GAC. Of course, yesterday was the 35th anniversary of the Tiananmen massacre, and 30 years ago, the national security law and the protests came about, and many people will say what's happening right now is in Hong Kong is basically Tiananmen Massacre 2.0. Just this past week, we had a situation where what's called the Hong Kong 47 are under arrest and charged with in violation of the national security law and also Article 23. So my question to GAC is this: what is the minister doing in relation to that? And is she actually calling for the release of these political prisoners and for the Hong Kong authorities to stop prosecuting these individuals?
Madam Chen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The last few days have seen some very important developments on the China human rights scene. As you may have Some of you may have noted Global Affairs Canada released a statement on May 30th regarding the outcomes of the trial of what we call the Hong Kong 47. Again, expressing our grave concerns around the application of national security law for what we believe are legitimate expressions of political views in Hong Kong. Yesterday, we also, Global Affairs Canada also released a statement on the occasion of the 35th anniversary of Tiananmen Square. We think it's very important that Canadians and the world does not forget what happened 35 years ago in Beijing. So I would say our minister is very focused on the relationship with China at this moment, including human rights.
Sorry, I was asking a very specific question. Is the minister calling for the release of these political prisoners and for the Hong Kong Authority, Chinese government, to stop prosecuting political prisoners? It's kind of a yes or no question.
And if you can be brief in your answer.
As mentioned in the Universal Periodic Review statement by Canada in January, we did call for Hong Kong to discontinue all cases against individuals charged for exercising their human rights and freedoms.
Mr. Chang, sorry, I just saw the hand from Mr. Ali. Mr. Ali thought, I thought Mr. Ali gave me a go-ahead to go to the other parties, so my apologies. And Mr. Chang, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I want to thank all the witnesses for being here today. In July of 2023, I had the honor of making an announcement on behalf of IRCC on the removal of the education requirement under the Canadian Work Experience Stream A and Stream B of the Hong Kong Permanent Residency Pathway. This change meant that we could welcome more Hong Kongers to Canada who need our support, while simultaneously helping Canadian businesses fill labor gaps with workers who already have work experience here. Can you explain to the committee how the government has been using a flexible approach to adapt its program to support the needs of Hong Kongers here in Canada?
Mr. McNamee.
Yes, thank you. So that was one example of when we looked at a public policy and amended it to make it more effective in the circumstances of the day. Another example is the May 27th amendments and new public policies that allow persons who have work permits to extend those, and persons who are in the process of getting permanent residence to have an access to a longer stay in Canada of up to 3 years. So it is in response to the realities of our day-to-day that we need to adapt our policies, and we're very willing to do that, and we'll continue to do so if necessary in the context of Hong Kong.
Question? Good. Okay, the member is good, and the watch says 7 o'clock right on. And on behalf of the committee members, I want to thank all the officials for being with us. Thank you for being with us, and very best to you. And I also want to thank everyone, and support staff, the interpreters, and of course the clerk and the analysts for staying till 7 o'clock. The meeting is adjourned.
you.